Hello, everyone. It has been a very swift August, at least for me. How has it been for you? Have you been having a good summer? I feel like summer's just kind of passed us by, and we're already into September. But before we get to September, we have to wrap up August. Hey, everyone. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is my August wrap-up. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer now, also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, HBO's His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released The Hills of Tenchiko, the musical number in The Wheel of Time Season 3. Already into September, which means we're getting closer to spooky season, one of my favorite times of the year. And I'm going to have a lot of content for that. But first, we need to wrap up August, because August was a pretty doozy of a month, at least for me. Like, I was working a bunch, I was reading a bunch, and tried to grasp that last bit of summer before the wind changes and the seasons change. For LA, that means, 100 degrees becoming a cool 90. So big differences there. But if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now, as always, on to the books. So as you'll see here, I kind of took the liberty of showing a little retrospective of my August reads. And you can see that I had 5 books scheduled. I got very close, actually. I read 4 and maybe a fifth of a book. The only one I wasn't able to complete was House of Chains by Steven Erikson. This is book 4 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, the 10 very big books. The reason why I ended up putting this off is I realized I'm really enjoying this book, and I don't want to not do it justice. Karsa Orlong is a fantastic character, and even those few pages I've read, couple hundred pages I think I've read of this book now, about a fifth of the book, and I really find this character to be compelling. And I'm very surprised, actually, because a lot of people said this is one of the weaker Malazan books. I didn't know what to expect. It's very divisive. So I wanted to kind of slow down and see what this character is all about. And I got to say, this is one of my favorite Malazan characters. So I knew that I wanted to enjoy it, and I had these other reads scheduled, a couple of read-alongs and things like that. So I want to make sure I give it the time it takes. So I'm going to keep it aside for now, but not for not enjoying it. I think this could have been easily a book of the month if I had kept it going, but off to the side for now. So let's talk about the ones I did complete. So the first one I want to talk about is The Green Branch, book 2 of the Heaven Tree trilogy by Edith. Pargeter. Now, this is a read-along I've been doing with Jenny Wirtz, the legendary fantasy author, who actually recommended we read this because she is an encyclopedic knowledge of books, right? And she knows about books that have fallen off the radar sometimes. They just kind of don't quite break out into the mainstream. This is one of them, but she always recommended it. And Jake from Nerd Level Rising and I decided, hey, let's read all together. And I'm very glad that Jenny was along for the ride, because, like, how cool is it to not only read one of your new favorite fantasy authors' books, but to also get recommendations from her and read alongside her, because she's a wealth of knowledge. So we read The Heaven Tree in July, The Green Branch book 2 in August. And what are my thoughts? So I guess, like, I really liked it on the one hand. I gotta say, like, Isambard's characters that much more layered. Certain characters that exited the page in book 1, I was kind of trepidation, you miss those characters. But the characters that replaced them or, came into this new generation of characters were actually very compelling in their own right, and very quickly so. I mean, Edith is such a good character writer. It's like, I say this a lot, but I love this comparison because it's very apt, I think, for her style of writing if you have not read it. And chances are you haven't, because it's under the radar. But it's like a Guy Gavriel Kay or Jenny Wirtz style lyrical prose mixed with a characterization of, say, a John Steinbeck. Very earthy, grounded kind of characters. And so on that one hand, I gotta say, it's fantastic. Where it fell short for me of the first book, The Heaven Tree, I feel like The Heaven Tree was a little bit more focused of a narrative, which it had to be, because the Green Branch opens up into a wider world, and you get to see more of the politicking at play, which is really cool. I do really like that. But, a hair's breadth of a difference, I would say The Heaven Tree will still be my favorite, and the characters in that, even the one that didn't survive and all that, were my favorite. So that's just maybe a little bias there on my end, but not to say I didn't like it. And I'm very excited to check out The Scarlet Seed with both of them in September. So that's going to be really fun. But if you haven't checked it out, I promise you, like, this is probably the most underrated set of books on Booktube. Period. Bar none. It's that good for how underrated it is. Does that make sense? Like, the ratio is kind of insane. Let's talk about the official channel read-along that we did this month. And that was really cool because it kind of spontaneously germinated. I was over in Illinois with Linda, speaking to my in-laws, and I was speaking to my father-in-law, and he was talking about this author Erik Larson, which I'd never heard of. I think I'd seen his cover, the covers of his books on store shelves, but I'd never really paid much attention. He said, hey, if you like historical fiction, you might like historical novels that are really rooted in the actual historical events and the actual characters and not inventing new characters. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the key difference. This one is about the Chicago World's Fair and how in like 1892, 1893, Chicago World's Fair is being built at the same time there is the America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes, purchasing a building and creating this like house of horrors right by where he could lure people who would come to town green, ready to make a new start and blah, 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 and like lure them with his charm and stuff. Fantastic, real dichotomy of those two. And we've been really enjoying reading it on the Discord, which if you haven't joined the Discord, what are you waiting for? Join us. We have 84 members now, all reading addicts like myself. And of course, people who are just kind of getting into reading. So nice little smorgasbord, a very big range of kind of readers. So you'll always find a kind of a nice little sub community there for you. But yeah, we read this. It was a short read, but man, it packed a punch. I got to say, this is a really fantastic read. So definitely check it out if you haven't. The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. The third book I got a chance to read was another buddy read. This one was by Robert McCammon. This is book 5 of the Matthew Corbett series, his 10-book series. Historical fiction meets horror, but Matthew Corbett, who's kind of a part-time investigator. He calls himself a problem solver, but he's like one of America's first detectives in the early 1700s. So in the first book, you see like kind of this like aftermath of the Salem witch trials and how it has this effect on a small town and paranoia and religion and all this stuff comes to fold. In this 5th entry, you see a revisit of some of those themes, which is kind of interesting, but I feel like it was a little lackluster. Like a lot of the stuff that Robert McCammon tried to capture in Rivers of Souls, I think paled in comparison to what he had already achieved in that first entry. I think we were treading water a little bit. Some of the stakes didn't seem as well earned, I feel like, in typical Matthew Corbett fashion. Having said that, though, it is still like a B+ book, and that's the lowest Matthew Corbett book. That gives you an idea of how consistent of an author Robert McCammon is. So please definitely check this out if you haven't already. But I will say this, the redemption was the twist at the end. Holy crap, like, there's something that happens in this that could completely upend the series. And I've never seen anything quite like this happen. The ramifications are huge. So I am curious if you've read up to this point what you think of this ending of this 5th book. But if you do comment about it, please mention, keep it spoiler free in the comments so that other people don't get spoiled for it, right? Or if you want to, message me privately and we can discuss it on Discord, So feel free to do that. But Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems and I had a great time discussing it together just over Discord. So great book. Then the last book I want to talk about is one that I gotta say, this one is easily one of my favorite reads of this month. It's To Green Angel Tower, Part 1 by Tad Williams. Now, I talked a little bit about in my weekly reading roundup, which you can check out up here if you want a more detailed account of what I thought of this book. But I'll just say short answer here. It was easily my favorite of the 3. I think the pacing was even better in this. Some of the most legendary things in the series have happened in this particular volume. Certain character arcs that you're seeing some redemption for them. Some that are morally gray, kind of don't know where they're going to land. You see more about the Scythi realm and kind of more about these different disparate cultures and about the main antagonist of the series. The only thing I wish was that it was paced better where you could see a bit more of it. It still feels like it's off in the distance. And it makes me a little concerned because we only have one more volume to go. And it's only 500 something pages. How can he wrap it up in that? I hope he can. And people love the series for a good reason. So I'm hoping. I remain optimistic that it will be fine. And that's, it seems like a big gripe, but honestly, it was still my favorite of the 3. So that gives you an idea of how much I enjoyed this, because I was high on all three of them, right? So definitely check it out if you haven't. So let's talk about the book of the month. This was a tough choice, my friends, because on the one hand, To Green Angel Tower was fantastic. The Green Branch didn't quite measure up to the first. The River of Souls didn't quite measure up to the other Matthew Corbett series. But if I had to choose one book, I would have to say it is the official channel read-along, The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. Don't you just love it when that happens? An official channel read-along becomes a book of the month. This was riveting from start to end. You know, very little gripes here at all. I think that it's kind of opened my world to a new subgenre of reading that I had not previously explored. I don't know if you've read historical novels, not historical fiction, but historical novels, like history that reads like a novel, you know, which is this. And I want to read more of Erik Larson. And in fact, I want to eventually read everything of Erik Larson. So let's see how that all goes. But fantastic book. So you heard me talk about it as ad nauseum. So please pick it up. And it would mean a lot to me if you'd pick it up, because it's great. And I want you to enjoy it as much as I do. So let's talk a little bit about the channel. So I released 10 videos. I did one live stream on my channel, and I was on 2 other live streams. So let's talk a little bit about that. The top 3 videos for this month were actually video essays. Surprise, surprise. One was book series and series that should be unadaptable, but Hollywood would benefit, and we would benefit from them adapting it. How it would bring a unique flavor to the adaptation space that has never been explored on TV. So that is a video you could check out up here if you like. The second one was a little bit about, is it worth reading unfinished series? We know about George R. R. Martin. We know about Patrick Rothfuss and his Kingkiller Chronicle. We know about other series that take a long time. Is it worth waiting until they're done? Well, I give you a little of both sides of the argument. Why it might be worth waiting, but also why it might be worth actually reading it, supporting the authors during those gaps. So definitely check that out if you'd like to up there. And the third one was kind of a fun one. I always try to make this very discussion oriented on the channel. So I kind of picked a few authors and series that I've not read. I can't believe I haven't read. And I kind of posed a question back to you, like, how many have you read? And I got some great responses there. You can check that out down below, and also up here, and see what other people have to respond, because we all get recommendations from each other, and that's the fun of this whole thing, right? So that was really lovely. I did a special birthday live stream hangout, which was kind of spur of the moment. I had my birthday about a week ago, and I was thinking about, like, what would make my birthday extra special would be to spend it with you all, and we got a chance to chat for like an hour and a half about all sorts of things, everything from my work on the Wheel of Time to favorite reads. A bunch of booktubers were there in the live stream too, and I'm just grateful for you all to like take time of your weekend to come and hang out with me. Like, that's really super cool of you, and I had a blast. So thanks for making my birthday extra special. Like, this is one of the best things that has happened to me in the last few years, is the chance to develop this community and get to chat with you all. So that every time we get a chance to do that, it's fun. So maybe I'll do more live streams. I don't know. You let me know if you'd prefer to see more of those on the channel. I always listen to you, right? And then the 2 guest appearances were actually both on Jake from Nerd Level Rising's channel. The first one I want to talk about is with Jake from Nerd Level Rising and Tom from Tom Orange. We decided to discuss While Darkness Gathers, the sequel book to Philip Chase's Idan trilogy, a phenomenal self-published fantasy trilogy, which you gotta check out if you haven't. I mean it. It's like, takes the best of Realm of the Elderlings, of John Gwynne, of Tad Williams, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, all the stuff, brings up like an Eastern, almost Zen philosophy to it. Oh man, phenomenal stuff. So definitely check it out. It's very unique, and this book takes place 16 years after the events of that series, so you get to see some crossover and stuff. We wanted to discuss it because we want to make sure this book gets the love it deserves. It's very important because these are the authors that I think are like the ones to look out for. Everything they seem to make is quality consistently, and Philip Chase is no exception to that. So I want to always highlight I always want to be the part of the conversation that highlights authors and great series like that. So you could check that out on Jake's channel. I'm also linking it. If I run out of links I can put up here because I only have a limit, I'll put it in the description so you can check that out. But fantastic gentleman, fantastic discussion always. And then the second one also on Jake's channel with Jenny Wirtz, and we discussed the Heaven Tree trilogy and the first book, specifically the Heaven Tree. And God, man, I think it was just basically us gushing for like an hour about how good that book is. But we also go into some detailed character depth and stuff, but we keep it spoiler free because I know a lot of people haven't read it, and it's very important again that we get more people to read these books that are so good. We don't want to spoil it for people before they get a chance to experience the majesty like we were. We weren't spoiled, and we want to pass that forward. So definitely check that out up here or down there. So we are at 1,340 subscribers, you guys. So we got a nice little bump this last month or so. And it's nice to see some new faces in addition to some great familiar ones. Let's talk a little bit about the music and life stuff. So I feel like this month kind of passed by like a blur. I did work on some game projects. I did I think it was 5 theme tracks for a music library, and I was doing one a day. It was kind of crazy. I don't even know how I did it, but it was 10 minutes of music in 5 days. So that was cool. Getting stuff ready for the Hills of Tenchiko for the next award season that is beginning now. And more on that in a future update, which I think I'm quite excited to share with you all, but I'm going to leave that for another time. Leave you in suspense. I worked on Linda's game a bunch as well. Did some music, sound effects for that, which was really, really cool. Celebrated my birthday, like I mentioned, and got a chance to do a party with a bunch of friends. So it was really nice. Good way to enjoy the summer. Hey everyone, just a quick cut in here because I realized I totally forgot to do my lesson learned of the month. This is kind of a new segment I've been doing the last couple months, basically highlighting something that I kind of learned that I wanted to share with you all. I always like to think critically about my own life, and honestly, I use stories and I use reading as a kind of a portal to that. I find that learning more about the world around me, or learning about storytelling or characters or worlds, allows me to kind of point the mirror at myself and figure out what can I be doing better in my life? How can I be living more joyously? That kind of a thing. And so I just wanted to highlight this month's lesson learned. In the previous month, I talked about how fear and gratitude are like oil and water. They don't mix. Anytime I get afraid of something, I've tried to focus on gratitude, like something I'm really thankful for. And I find that the fear starts to dissipate around whatever I want to do. And this is kind of like an actionable thing I've kind of started incorporating in various aspects of my life, whether it be going to a networking event, being out of my comfort zone, having to make a call I don't want to make, having to address issues in my life that I have to face, that I don't want to, uncomfortable conversations, or even just sitting down and doing what I love, which is making these videos, or even, working on music. And that is to find my way back to that gratitude, that sense of well-being. The way I've kind of started doing this is a mental exercise. Anytime I feel afraid to do a particular thing, or I feel like something is too daunting, I've been trying to visualize myself as in service to that thing. So for example, going to an event and meeting a lot of new people, that can be scary for anyone, right? Sometimes I will go to those things, and instead of thinking about what can I get out of this experience, I kind of go how can I serve this experience? If I was to be running this event, how would I speak to people, making sure they, are having a good time, speak about them, right? I would want to learn more about them. And so I kind of start doing that. And I noticed that it has changed the way I approach networking events. Same thing with these videos. Anytime I go, oh man, I'm so tired today, we love to interact in this community, but it can be a tiring thing too, so it's a lot of effort and time and stuff that is required. So I try to reframe it how can I be in service to this channel, to this community? And that usually just steers me right back on course. It gets me reinvigorated to tackle these videos. Same thing with music, oh man, I'm tired, I don't want to write today, I'm feeling uninspired, whatever. It's how can I be in service to the music? I've been given this gift of being able to tell stories through music. How can I be in service of that thing? And that's been helping me get back to the gratitude, and it's kind of helped me tamp down the fear. So I figured I'd mention this to you all because, I always like sharing stuff with you, kind of where I'm at. I'm a work in progress, we all are. And if it helps any of you, that's great. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to September. I think September promises to be a nice kind of change of vibe. I love this particular time of the year. I don't know how you all feel about it, but like, we're all readers, right? So we love to have any excuse to stay at home and read. And there's something about the weather changing that kind of makes you feel that way. We don't feel it the same in LA as you all probably do elsewhere, but I will live vicariously through your changing of the seasons at the very least. If you want to know more about my September TBR, by the way, I'm leaving a video up here so you could check that out. And I hope you enjoy it. And I would love to know what you're reading, how your month went in August. And let's have a great September, everyone. So thanks for being here. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I will see you on the next video. And check out that September TBR. Take care.